Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast, Humanitarian Horizons, Christina DiArcangelo Unveiled. And today we're going to talk about Trump's FDA pick, RFK Jr., and the future of clinical research. So, for most of you that are out here listening and viewing me over the years now, from season one, I am Christina DiArcangelo, to now Humanitarian Horizons, Christina DiArcangelo Unveiled. I think that you've realized at this point that I'm a biotech person. I'm a clinical researcher. That's my main profession, if you will. I'm a jack of many different trades, but I started in clinical research. This year, I'll go on 26 years old globally in the space. So I've been doing this a long time. So obviously, I'm coming from that vantage point when I talk about these things because I've actually worked on drugs that got FDA approvals, devices, and nutraceuticals in the years that I've been doing this job. So I thought today it would be a good idea for me to come on and just talk about what's happening, right? Out there in the space. And I think that diving into one of the consequential developments for clinical research and pharmaceutical industries with respect to Trump's rumored pick for FDA commissioner and potential involvement of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr. What does that mean for approvals, regulatory oversight, and the future of medical innovation? Buckle up, because this is going to be a game changer. For those that are unfamiliar, the FDA isn't just another governmental agency. It's the gatekeeper of medicine in the United States of America. From clinical trial approvals to final drug authorizations, the FDA dictates the pace of innovation, safety of new treatments. A single decision from the FDA can determine whether or not a life-saving drug reaches the market or gets buried in bureaucratic red tape. And now that Trump is back in control, I'm curious to see what the shift will be as far as how the agency will operate. Remember, Trump was in the president's spot when COVID started and the EUAs were going on back in the day. The emergency use access, which I actually worked on a couple of those filings myself, not on the vaccines that ended up getting approved by FDA, but other types of biologics I was working on. So, what do we think is going to happen with RFK if he gets approved? RFK Jr. has been one of the most controversial figures in the medical space, a vocal critic of big pharma, vaccine policies, and his potential appointment or even influence within the FDA could send shockwaves through the industry. On one hand, RFK Jr. champions medical freedom and transparency, which I'm a big proponent of. You've probably garnered that in some of the other podcasts that I've shot in the past where I've talked about clinical research or patient advocacy. Anyway, on the other hand, his stance against traditional pharmaceutical practices could create major friction with the drug manufacturers and clinical researchers. Could this signal a more rigorous safety protocols for clinical studies? Or could it slow down the drug approvals due to the increased scrutiny? It takes a long time to get a drug approved. There's many, many years. There's different phases of clinical studies. I'm not going to get into all of that. I can do a follow-up on the different phases of clinical research and what it means to get a drug approved and all the process that has to occur in order to be able to do that. But one thing that I'm sure is certain is that if RFK Jr. is involved, the status quo is about to be shaken to the core. If the clinical research industry is already navigating turbulent times, there's AI driven drug discovery, decentralized trials, and new regulatory challenges. If Trump and RFK reshape the FDA, we could see major changes. Faster drug approvals? Will this lead to breakthroughs in cancer, rare diseases, and personalized medicine? What about the cannabinoid and the cannabis space? What's going to happen to them? They still don't have a clear pathway. Is there going to be a carve out with respect to that industry? That would be awesome to see. As you all know, I've been working in that space globally since 2016. It's very hard to work in that space. Regulatory overhauls? Will we see less bureaucracy and more scrutiny on the pharmaceutical giants? Y'all know who I'm talking about. AI integration. Will the Oracle and AI-based regulatory decision-making replace traditional review processes? And what about vaccine and drug safety policies? Will RFK Jr.'s influence result in more transparency and stricter safety hurdles? This shift could be the golden era for biotech startups, for faster approvals, or it could end up being a regulatory nightmare if the industry becomes too unpredictable. No matter what, one thing is very clear. The clinical research industry must prepare for massive change. Companies, researchers, patient advocacies need to adapt quickly because the regulatory landscape is about to be rewritten. Will this be a renaissance of medical innovation or a period of regulatory instability? We'll be watching closely, obviously, as this all unfolds. But I want to bring up, really honestly, what happened post Trump's, leaving office and Biden administration taking over, with the vaccines getting approved, with the mandate that people had to take the vaccines in order to keep their job. Look what happened to the military. Many people lost their jobs because they refused to be vaccinated, because the Biden administration pushed the envelope and made everybody become vaccinated. And now look what's happened. Look at the fallout from the actual vaccine itself. There's lots of lawsuits going on. There's a lot of scrutiny over what's happened as it relates to what the CDC was saying back then during that administration about if you've been vaccinated, you can't become a super spreader and you can't spread the actual COVID-19. But we all know that was false. It was happening. And then those people that didn't get the vaccines because they were able to not have to worry about that from a job perspective, or people in general, like the elderly that didn't have to get the vaccines because they stayed at home, they were labeled as anti-vaxxers, which was not the case. So we obviously need to fix some of these issues, right? And I feel like the next few months will shape the future of medicine in America. We must stay informed, challenge policies that harm patients, and push for an FDA that prioritizes both safety and innovation with a full focus of efficacy. What do you think? Will Trump's pick, RFK Jr.'s potential role, revolutionize healthcare or create chaos? What do you think? Please stay engaged, stay aware, and make sure you pay attention to what's going on. Whether you're in the clinical research space or not, if you're just a person who takes medicine, it's really important to stay on top of these things and pay attention to what's happening. For now, that's all I have. Thank you for joining me. I know we'll be talking about this more in the future. Remember, I'm Christina DiArcangelo, and this is Humanitarian Horizons, Christina DiArcangelo Unveiled. Bye-bye for now.